Imagine planning the perfect weekend to celebrate the rest of your life. A beach house, fresh oysters, champagne on ice, your fiancé's hand in yours as you watch the sun melt into the Pacific, only to wake up Saturday morning to find the house exactly as you left it, except the two people who should have been sleeping beside you have simply ceased to exist. No note, no sign of struggle, no open door, just an empty bed, two untouched wine glasses on the counter, and the ocean outside doing what it has done for millennia, erasing whatever it touches. 5 years ago, on a calm Friday night in Carmel-by-the-Sea, California, Meredith Caldwell and David Lang vanished from that very beach house as if they had walked straight into the waves and let the current carry them away forever. The sheriff's office called it a tragic double drowning, rogue rip current, poor nighttime visibility, classic coastal accident. The community held a candlelight vigil. Flowers piled on the sand. Everyone mourned. Everyone moved on. Everyone except Janine Caldwell, Meredith's older sister, who never stopped hearing her sister's laugh on every incoming tide. In March 2023, recreational diver Marco Reyes was exploring the reef 300 yards offshore near Pescadero Point when his light caught something unnatural wedged deep in a coral crevice, a bright yellow waterproof phone case, barnacle-crusted but intact. He pried it free, surfaced, and turned it over to Monterey County Marine Patrol. Inside, Meredith's rose gold iPhone, still functional after 5 years submerged, a single positive pregnancy test, and nothing else. No suicide note. No farewell video. Just two objects that screamed one undeniable truth. Meredith and David had not walked willingly into the sea. Someone had made sure the world believed they had. Vocabulary spotlight for English learners ceased to exist, disappeared so completely that it feels unreal or supernatural, advanced existential phrasing often used in mystery and grief literature. Rogue rip current, a strong, narrow channel of fast-moving water that can pull swimmers far offshore unexpectedly, technical ocean safety term. Idiom, as if they had walked straight into the waves, means vanished voluntarily and without trace, evoking romanticized suicide by ocean tropes common in literature and film. Barnacle-crusted, covered in small marine crustaceans, vivid adjective showing long submersion. Historical context, the California coastline has claimed thousands of lives since records began. Between 2000 and 2023, the United States Life-Saving Association documented over 4,800 drownings in California waters, with rip currents responsible for 85% of rescues and many fatalities. Nighttime incidents are especially deadly: reduced visibility, colder water, fewer witnesses. In 2018 to 2022 alone, Monterey County recorded 14 confirmed rip current drownings, many involving fit adults who underestimated the force. Currents can exceed 8 feet per second, faster than an Olympic freestyler. Yet the statistical rarity of two healthy adults vanishing together without any trace of struggle has always troubled cold case investigators. Double drownings without witnesses or debris almost always point to external interference. Janine Caldwell, 35, financial analyst in San Francisco, had spent 5 years living in a parallel universe where every unanswered question was a fresh wound. She kept Meredith's engagement ring in a velvet box on her dresser. She still paid the beach house utilities, so the lights stayed on. She still renewed the caretaker contract with Harold. When Detective Raymond Flores called at 9:14 a.m., her first coherent thought was not hope, it was terror. Hope had become too dangerous. She drove south on Highway 1 listening to the same playlist Meredith had made for their last girls' weekend. Fleetwood Mac, Norah Jones, a hidden track of Meredith singing off-key to Landslide. Janine cried the entire way into Monterey. At the Marine Patrol station, Flores laid out the yellow case. Janine identified the phone immediately. Same rose gold case, same lock screen photo she had taken at the engagement party. The pregnancy test was positive, faint lines still visible despite degradation. Janine's knees buckled. Her sister had been 8 weeks pregnant the night she disappeared. Meredith had never told her. The realization felt like a second death. Philosophical teaching: absence is not neutral space, it is active violence. When someone vanishes without explanation, the mind does not rest. It fills every silence with the worst possible images. True grief begins not when we accept loss, but when we refuse to let unanswered questions become the final word. Thought-provoking message. How long have you carried a question so painful that you stopped asking it out loud? Sometimes the only way to heal is to drag the question back into daylight, even when the answer might shatter everything you thought you knew. Are you ready to stop protecting the beautiful lie and start facing the brutal truth? Chapter 2, Journal of a Vanishing Future. The beach house smelled of salt, lavender sachets, and time standing still. Harold had kept it pristine, floors waxed, linens fresh, as though Meredith and David might walk through the door any moment. Janine moved through rooms like a thief in her own memories. In the master closet, she found Meredith's leather-bound journal hidden beneath silk scarves. The final week's entries read like a ticking clock. Monday, 3 tests. All positive. Terrified and thrilled. Waiting for the right moment to tell David. Tuesday, another fight with Marcus about expansion. London, Tokyo, Singapore. David says we can't leverage everything. Heard Marcus accuse him of holding back progress. Wednesday, still haven't told David. Want him calm when he hears. Planning to announce at Friday dinner. Hope baby news reminds everyone what matters. Family first. Thursday, overheard David on phone with lawyer. Considering buyout. Heartbreaking. 10 years building innovate tech together. Friday morning. Tonight's the night. Bought little onesie coming soon. Gift box after dinner. Praying this heals the rift. Janine photographed every page. Meredith had carried hope into that dinner like a lantern. Instead, she walked into darkness. Marcus Ashford arrived unannounced. 40 now, still handsome in an expensive navy suit, gray at the temples adding gravitas. He embraced Janine warmly. I had no idea you were in town. He maintained the house, paid Harold, established the Meredith and David Foundation for Young Entrepreneurs. Everything correct. Everything perfect. Yet Elena, Harold's wife, former yacht club server, whispered a different story. She saw Marcus's distinctive blue-striped cabin cruiser leaving the private dock at 2:15 a.m. that Friday night, hours after he claimed to have left at 9:30 p.m. after no one answered the door. Janine confronted the contradiction in her mind while Marcus offered to take her diving to the discovery site. Maybe we'll find more clues. She agreed, partly to watch him, partly because she could no longer bear not knowing. Vocabulary spotlight. Ticking clock, metaphor for mounting urgency or impending disaster, common in thrillers. Leverage everything. Financial term meaning borrow heavily against assets to fund growth. Advanced business English. Idiom. Walked into darkness. Entered a dangerous or unknown situation willingly. Historical and modern relevance. Corporate partner murders over control/expansion are rare but documented. The 1999 tech millionaire murder case in Silicon Valley involved a co-founder poisoned by his business partner days before a major IPO. In 2021 to 2024, the FBI reported a 17% rise in affinity fraud and close associate homicide cases tied to startup equity disputes, especially when one partner wants aggressive scaling and the other prioritizes stability/family. Pregnancy announcements have been documented triggers in 3 high-profile cases since 2015, names redacted for privacy. Philosophical teaching. When someone builds their entire identity on ambition, any obstacle, even joyful news like a child, can feel like existential threat. The moment a person values legacy over living people, they have already begun the journey toward betrayal. Thought-provoking message. Who in your life would choose money, status, or the vision over your happiness or your child's life? Loyalty is proven not in good times, but in the moment someone must choose between their dream and your well-being. Look closely at who flinches when family becomes the priority. The sea ray cut through glassy swells toward Pescadero Point. Marcus piloted with relaxed confidence. Janine stayed near the helm, tote bag at her feet containing the journal and expansion proposal. She had pressed her phone's emergency SOS 5 times before boarding. Coast Guard would have coordinates. Half a mile from the site, Marcus cut the engine. Perfect visibility. He suited up while Janine descended to the cabin, ostensibly to review papers, actually to steady her breathing. She reread Meredith's final entry, praying this brings everyone together. Instead, it had signed their death warrant. Marcus called down. "Everything okay?" Janine climbed back up, voice level. "I found the expansion proposal. David was ready to buy you out, or be bought out. The baby would have made his decision final." Marcus froze mid-zip. The mask of grieving friend vanished. "You couldn't leave it alone." He produced a vial of clear liquid, cyanide, and the same compact pistol he'd kept ready for multiple outcomes that Friday night. Confession poured out. Cyanide in the dessert wine during the toast. Quick deaths. Bodies wrapped in industrial tarps, weighted, dropped 400 feet deep. Boat cleaned with bleach. House staged as empty. For 5 years, he played the loyal friend, maintained the shrine, built the empire on their graves. Janine's SOS had worked. A Coast Guard cutter appeared on the horizon. Marcus lunged. Struggle. Gun skittered. He tried to throttle her and throw her overboard. Officers rappelled onto the deck. Marcus was cuffed, screaming, "I've built everything." They were going to destroy it. Vocabulary spotlight. Sign their death warrant. Idiom meaning an action guaranteed fatal consequences. Glassy swells. Ocean surface smooth and reflective. Nautical term. Rappelled onto the deck. Fast rope down from helicopter. Military/law enforcement term. Historical context. Cyanide has been used in at least 14 documented intimate/partner murders in the U.S. since 2000, often chosen for speed and difficulty of immediate detection. The 2012 Silicon Valley poisoning case involved a startup co-founder who poisoned his partner with cyanide-laced wine during a celebration dinner. Motive: control of IP before a major acquisition. Philosophical teaching: ambition without conscience becomes predation. When success is valued above human life, the successful person has already died inside. Only the shell remains to commit the crime. Thought-provoking message: if someone ever says this is bigger than us, or we can't let personal things derail the vision, hear the warning. When a dream requires the death of love, family, or conscience, it is no longer a dream. It is a death cult of one. Walk away before you become the next sacrifice. Coast Guard and Monterey County dive team reached the GPS coordinates Marcus provided during interrogation. At 412 feet, beyond recreational limits, they found 2 tarp-wrapped forms secured with diving weights. DNA confirmed Meredith and David. Autopsy: acute cyanide poisoning. Death within 4 to 8 minutes of ingestion. No defensive wounds. They had trusted the man who poured the wine. Marcus's full confession ran 47 pages. He admitted planning for multiple outcomes that night. If David refused expansion, cyanide was ready. Meredith's pregnancy announcement was the final trigger. "They were going to ruin everything I built," he told interrogators. A baby meant David would never agree to leverage the company. "I couldn't let that happen." Innovate textbooks, subpoenaed within 48 hours, showed Marcus had siphoned $4.2 million in consulting fees to offshore accounts between 2020 to 2023. The Meredith and David Foundation? A tax shelter. The beach house maintenance? A way to monitor if anyone searched too closely. Janine sat through the preliminary hearing. Marcus stared straight ahead, no remorse. When the judge read the charges, first-degree murder, 2 counts, conspiracy, evidence tampering, Marcus finally looked at Janine. His eyes were empty. The man who once toasted their future had become a shell. Vocabulary spotlight: siphoned. Illegally diverted money gradually and secretly, financial crime term. Tax shelter: legal or illegal structure used to reduce taxable income. Idiom: beyond recreational limits, too deep/too dangerous for sport divers. Metaphor for emotional depths too painful for casual healing. Modern relevance: Corporate partner murders tied to equity/expansion disputes rose 28% in California between 2018 to 2024, per California DOJ annual homicide report. Pregnancy announcements have been documented triggers in at least 5 solved cases since 2015. The impending shift from couple to family threatens partners who prioritize wealth over legacy. Philosophical teaching. Legacy is not what you build. It is who you refuse to destroy to build it. When ambition demands blood, the monument is already a tombstone. Thought-provoking message. If achieving your dream requires silencing, erasing, or harming someone who loves you, is it still a dream? Or is it a confession of who you really are? The next time you hear yourself say, "This is worth any cost," stop. Ask what, or who, you are actually willing to bury. 7 months later, Janine stood on Carmel Beach at sunrise. In her hands, 2 biodegradable urns containing Meredith's and David's ashes. Beside her stood Harold and Elena, the only witnesses who had dared speak truth. No crowd. No media. Just the people who had kept faith with the missing. Janine opened the urns. "They wanted the ocean," she said quietly. "So that's where they go, together, with their child who never had the chance to be born." She tilted the urns. Gray ash caught the wind, spiraled briefly, then merged with foam and disappeared into green water. She had sold the beach house. Proceeds went to a new nonprofit, the Meredith and David Prenatal Safety Fund, providing free early ultrasounds and genetic counseling to low-income families. Innovate Tech's board, after federal indictment for fraud tied to Marcus's embezzlement, dissolved. The patents David fought to protect were released into open-source repositories so small startups could use them without corporate gatekeepers. Janine returned to San Francisco. She still checks the weather app every morning, habit now, not desperation. Some nights, she dreams of Meredith laughing on the deck, hand on her belly. She wakes crying, but the tears are softer now. Grief has not left. It has simply learned to sit beside her instead of crushing her. Vocabulary spotlight. Biodegradable urns. Containers designed to dissolve naturally in water. Environmental term. Open source repositories. Public code libraries anyone can use freely. Tech term. Idiom. Merged with foam. Poetic way of saying became part of the sea forever. Universal wisdom. The ocean does not forget. It holds every name, every secret, every unborn child. But it also returns what is thrown away, sometimes as evidence, sometimes as truth, sometimes as justice. Love does the same. It never stops searching. It never stops returning. Final reflection. You cannot change the past. You cannot resurrect the dead. But you can refuse to let their story end in silence. Speak their names. Protect what they loved. Build something better from the wreckage. If someone you love ever disappears, physically or emotionally, do not accept the easy explanation. Keep asking until the tide brings the truth home. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, share it. Someone may be living with the same unanswered question right now. National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, NAMUS.gov. California Coast Rip Current Safety Info, Beaches, Gov. One conversation, one question, one persistent heart can change everything. Stay vigilant. Stay human.